Arthas. That's right. Most iconic character in all of World of Warcraft history? Probably. Best story in all of World of Warcraft? Definitely. Wouldn't it be great in a Netflix series? Well, that leak that we saw from Blizzard, which now seems to be true, had an Arthas, basically fully real-life rendered series coming. And yeah, it was Arthas based. We've talked about it a lot. Is it actually going to happen? Let's see what kind of new insider info our friend Thorin has to say.
I know this sounds like something we talk about every day. Yeah, wouldn't it be cool if we got like this Warcraft series, but we legit have some evidence that we could in fact get a live action series for Warcraft in 2029, possibly involving Arthas, and it could be announced on this year's BlizzCon. Other than the credibility with the Camelot leak that we also have Blizzard devs discussing the Warcraft movie, but most importantly, we have a credible industry insider talking about a first and failed Netflix deal from 2020, but a legit one that was restarted a few years back.
Yeah, as far as a Warcraft movie goes, real quick, I said this a long time ago that the Warcraft movie should have been just the story of Arthas. I think trying to tell the orc and the human side of the story both at the same time and everything was just a lot for an audience that maybe, you know, when you make a movie like World of Warcraft, your intention shouldn't just be to capture the players that have played the game. You want to go broader than that. You want to bring people into the world that have never heard of the world, don't know anything about it, but were interested maybe in a fantasy movie like that. I don't think the World of Warcraft movie did a very good job of that. Well, I think an Arthas story would have, though, because that's much easier to tell, right? Prince, comes across this evil plague, tries to figure out who's behind it, wants to save his people, does some messed up shit along the way, gets corrupted, becomes the bad guy, and then he has to be defeated. Like, that's a pretty interesting story that I think people outside of the World of Warcraft, franchise and never dealt with it would find interesting. And that's why I said that should have been the story. You could have told in a 3-part series, and sure, it could have been a much better movie. Now, if it becomes a Netflix series or something like that, I actually kind of wish it would be like an HBO series, so maybe it's more... I think that entails it to be more violent. Maybe they give it a Game of Thrones treatment, not like the last season, but like, current right now. Hey, the dragons, God, what's it called? The new basically Game of Thrones dragons based fucking series is amazing. Amazing. I would love to see something like that. World of Warcraft get that kind of treatment. Oh my God, that'd be freaking great. With an Arthas story, shit.
It will be announced on this year's BlizzCon. Combined with other hints, live action Warcraft series now has more credibility than it ever had. So let's look at all the evidence we currently have. So TBC Phase 2 is here, and we're kinda at a point now where performance is really starting to matter as everyone is racing up to prepare for the Black Temple. This is the perfect time to really up your performance with Overgear if you don't want to spend hours wiping in random pucks. You can queue up with their best players and they will help you clear everything together. No RNG or wasted lockouts, they have all raid bundles helping you clear TK and SST, guaranteeing you will get cleared up and ready for the big leagues. So if you want to head into Black Temple fully geared instead of playing catch up, check out Overgear using my link below, and don't forget to use code DORONS10 for a discount.
Yeah, buddy.
If you guys remember, I talked about this about a year back. I made this video on the Warcraft Netflix series being real and that it will be announced on this year's BlizzCon, and now, only like 2 months before BlizzCon, this seems to have some legitimacy to it, as we have other evidence that combines with this that makes it more credible. So you must have heard about this already. I made multiple videos on this leak, which could, if real, be the biggest leak in all of World of Warcraft. And
again, when this came out a couple months ago, everyone thought it was fake, but it turns out the word Camelot was actually discovered to be used as the Classic Plus code within the game, within Blizzard, so now everyone thinks this could be real. Yeah, we have the Arthas live action here, and then also Chronicles, the anime series, showing up. Now, Arthas live action it doesn't look like it's going to happen until Q4 of 2029, but, I mean, shit, that's like, 3.5 years away. So, I mean, for a live action to actually happen, depending on when they start, it makes sense that it would take them that long. We'll see. Would they announce it at this BlizzCon, though, if it's 3 years away? I don't know. I don't know about that. This might be too far ahead for them to say something about it. The Chronicles anime series, that sounds more like they're trying to compete with Arcane, right? from League of Legends, from Riot. So that would be cool too. We'll see if that ends up happening. But that's not until Q4 of 2028, so a year ahead of the Arthas live action.
Warcraft history in general. The reason we're even considering this is because someone leaked this photo of a monitor that showed the timeline of the entire Warcraft franchise with like confidential written on it, and because of this, it seemed like prime BS as anyone could really make this. But the reason people think this is legit is because, first of all, it matches well with the Midnight release, but also because in August last year, they wrote the project Camelot for the classic part of Warcraft. This at the time was just like random words, but then a month back, we actually data mine in the World of Warcraft build Camelot being real. Like, people legit data mine strings showing the heroic in the epic edition for Camelot, which is a very specific word, and with all the classic plus talks and such, it seems to actually be legit. I just don't see how someone literally a year ago could come up with the name Camelot and then it would be data mined when combined with a ton of other classic plus hints that are currently going around. This gave this leak a lot more credibility, and it showed a lot more things as well. One of them.
Loston says, so his earlier talk about it was all a lie about the Netflix. No, it wasn't a lie. That was all based on Blizzard themselves actually talking about this. Blizzard talked about, and who was the guy? He just retired not too long ago. I forget his name. But he talked about using the Warcraft IP in other ways. He talked about this whole thing. If you remember, like that earnings call he had or whatever, where he talked a little bit about player numbers and things that have happened over the years. He didn't reveal exact numbers, but we were able to tell once he had that. He revealed that chart, and we were able to start telling what player numbers were again. He talked about that Blizzard wants to use Warcraft IP in other ways and tell stories in other forums and stuff. And that was really what kicked off the whole, like, hey, we're probably going to get a Netflix series or something like that. And that was why he was talking about it the first time around. Now there's even more proof. So it looks like that was in fact true. And they have pursued telling wild stories in other ways through this Arthas live action or Chronicles anime series.
Being that they already have 14.0 planned for 2029. But
by the way, it's behind the chat right now. The Arthas live action's right here. Maybe you guys haven't been able to see it on the screen yet, but it's right here. This is why I said it's part of the Q4 2029.
Even more interestingly, a new
Warcraft
Chronicles RTS and an animated series and an Arthas single-player RPG. However, this Q3 2029 showed the Arthas live-action series happening, then it got me to wonder about the previous evidence that I talked about a year back, and I know it might sound a bit like BS, but hear me out, there is a lot more connecting evidence that when you kind of cross-examine with, much like when we had a Camelot leak from last year.
Yep. Also, this thing fits the 2-year patch cadence, or the 2-year expansion cadence. It's basically got a new expansion dropping every 10 years.
With much like when we had a Camelot leak from last year,
sorry, not 10 years, every 2 years.
Comments and interviews that align perfectly with this as well. So by far the most legit evidence are one of the lead Blizzard developers commenting about this about a year and a half ago during War with Him, when they were asked about whether they would do another Warcraft movie like they did a decade ago, and they said yes, they're 100% open to it, they just need the right studio to make it work, which is difficult to find to get someone that aligns well with their vision. But from the interview, the tone was that like there was already something going on in the process, but there were probably some complications, and this aligns perfectly actually with the other bit of evidence that we got from an industry insider. So this info came from a guy named Jez Corden, a journalist on an Xbox related podcast, which is now obviously Microsoft, as Blizzard is Microsoft, and they gave us some really interesting information. They were discussing the at the time recent Minecraft movie and the success, and he said he can't say much right now, it's highly confidential, but Netflix is actually working on a project with Blizzard for one of their franchises, and this will be revealed on BlizzCon 2026. Keep in mind, this interview was from a year and a half back, and BlizzCon is now just around the corner. He gave us even more interesting information. Apparently, Blizzard went into a really big deal, like a 3-franchise project with Netflix back in 2020. It was like a serious, big deal, big money type project, but it actually fell apart as it turned into like a legal nightmare. The rumor is that the Netflix as a company poached one of the, at the time, Blizzard executives, which created bad blood. It ended up in a lawsuit. They ended up canceling the entire deal. It makes sense as around this time, I mean, Blizzard was really going crazy. They were burning bridges left and right everywhere. They even canceled WoW in China in this huge scandal as well. So it kind of aligns with that time period perfectly too. But the insider information is that since Microsoft bought Blizzard, this Netflix project got on the table and they started working.
By the way, this is completely off topic. Why have we never had a helm like this in the game? You guys see the helms here
is
that these two guards are wearing, where like it like just slid around and it covers the beard? It's got like an iron beard almost. This is freaking cool. Why have we never had this? It's just got a square around the eyes and then like this square around the mouth, and then it's got like it goes fully down. Because WoW is the third world MMO. I think this would be cool. Even the metal, the part where like where the hair or whatever usually sticks out, it's metal here. This is a fucking cool helm, man. We need a helm like this in the game.
Since Microsoft bought Blizzard,
and it's got horns that are reversed. Do you see the freaking reversed horns coming off the back? It's badass, man. Shit, I want it.
Microsoft bought Blizzard, this Netflix project got on the table and they started
working
Why don't
we have
again.
These helms?
It actually makes sense because around this time, Netflix really got into game adaptations with The Witcher as well, which was super successful. I mean, sure, it changed quite a bit over the years. Let's not say it's amazing exactly, but it didn't bomb either, so financially, it makes sense for them to work with Blizzard as well. Now, this perfectly aligns with another bit of evidence that happened just a bit prior to Microsoft buying Blizzard, and that is Chris Metzen returning and giving this big letter about how big things are happening for Warcraft. He clearly stated he's not talking about the World of Warcraft, but big things are happening for the Warcraft franchise in general.
Right.
And if this leak is right, he was completely right here as well. Not only do we have the whole saga planned and 14.0 and 15.0 planned out for like 2030, but they also got a brand new classic version planned with Classic Plus, which is being very credible right now. They seem to have a new Warcraft RTS planned called Chronicles coming out in 2028, as well as an animated series, but they also apparently have a single-player Arthas RPG coming out with a live action series. Now, if the leak is legit, what Chris Metzen said was an understatement, as this would be like the biggest World of Warcraft franchise release ever. I mean, in the next 5 years, we would get more content than we had gotten in the past 20, which is absolutely crazy. However, what I don't seem to understand right now is how it's planned, because the timeline clearly states the Arthas action RPG coming out in 2029 Q3, but they also added the little dot with the live action series at that date. Seeing that this is not like a separate bracket, it's likely the live action series is in fact involving Arthas, and this has been like the longest speculated live action series.
It's the best story.
Even talking about
it's the best story in the game for a live action anything. And I've said that many times before. It just, people who don't play this game could empathize with the Arthas storyline and would totally be into watching it without having to know the history of the Dark Portal and all this other shit. You could literally just focus on the Arthas story and people would be into it.
For at least 10 years. Let's be real, I mean, the movie format obviously doesn't work for a lore universe like Warcraft, as casual, watchers can't really get into it. I mean, WoW is really too abstract, there's too much information for like a movie. The Arthas storyline, especially Prince Arthas, is like the perfect storyline for any casual viewer not familiar with Warcraft in general. It's just like a prince defending his kingdom from the undead scourge and the plague. Super relatable, doesn't need you to know who Sergeras is, Archimon, Titans, and all the shenanigans. Plus, with this saga and the entire storyline and the Arthas novel and some creative freedom, they got like 5 seasons at least for the whole thing. So really, out of pretty much all the storylines, if Blizzard ever were to do a live adaptation, this would be the one that works best. Yes. I know these types of videos always seem like BS, like some Unreal Engine, some AI photo like Arthas series is happening, but there is actually some meat to this matter. I mean, we have the whole...
I think his own thumbnail was an AI Arthas face too. Like he said it, but he also did it.
Camelot leak, which actually has some credibility, insider information from multiple sources. So while of course it isn't confirmed yet, it could totally be possible that we get a live action Arthas series in the near future. They'll probably do like a pilot for a series just involving the discovering of the plague in Lordaeron, and we would have some meat of the storyline immediately, but a lot of it could also be...
Could you imagine a season-ending episode with the culling of Stratho? Oh man, talk about a cliffhanger. Prince falls to darkness, complete culling of Stratham, the fallout with Uther and Jaina, all that shit going down, and the season ends with the freaking the Stratham burning in the background and Arthas walking out. Oh shit, that'd be great.
Seed for the future for the Lich King. The only
what a great
worry right now is
there's some good stories, man,
Netflix
from
and
the
how
Arthas
they could actually adapt such a storyline to the movie screen, but that is really a discussion for another day. Thanks for watching. Check out everything we know about the other side of Azeroth we recently learned about with some 12.1 changes by clicking on the screen, and subscribe to my brand new Witcher lore channel by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
You said that at the beginning of the video. I think it'd be awesome. Yeah, there's so many good moments, epic moments within the Arthas story I mean, even like Prince Arthas, if you don't know this, Prince Arthas as a young kid was dueling with Varian all the time. With Varian, right? So there's so many cool characters that intertwine with him. You would get to know Uther, you'd get to know Jaina, you'd get to know Arthas, you'd get to know Prince Renethil, even Varian maybe a little bit early on. Like, there's a lot of big-time character interactions that you would get to see, and characters you'd get to see on screen because they're telling the Arthas story. So we'll see if this whole leak actually ends up happening. If we get an announcement at BlizzCon, that'd be cool. Although I can't imagine if it's really 3 years out that we get an announcement at this BlizzCon. But we'll see. Nice video overall from Thorin.